Women's Day.
Yeah.
And welcome to Bangladesh. And welcome to CDM, next to BRAC Center, as you know. So I'm delighted to be with you. And I've been a friend of your founder of this organization, Wendy, who is here. I'm so glad to see her. She's my hero. In a lot of ways, many things I wanted to do, and she has done that. So I'm so glad to be here.
I need to tell you all at some point before this is over, I'm going to tell you the incredible role that he played in the decision to launch Teach for All.
Oh, Teach for All, yes.
Incredible.
When you find it,
Do you
want to share that?
I was, having this dilemma and trying to think through it. Again, you've heard the story of how Teach for All came to be so many times. And, we had heard from people in all these different countries who were wanting to do something similar. They were looking for help, and we were really trying to figure out what made sense. And actually, it was Pamela Hartigan. I don't know if you remember this, but who kind of supports social entrepreneurs. And she reached out one day and said, there's someone I really want you to meet. And he wants to meet you, so I'm going to put you all together. And it was this incredible gentleman who said, well, I'm going to be in New York for the UN meetings. Can I take you to dinner? And this is incredible. I had no idea that this would be the beginning of, you are my hero, and I say this to everyone. We had an incredible dinner which went on for a couple of hours, in which he, first of all, essentially figured out the name of Teach for All. Like, what could it be? And we were brainstorming, like, Teach for All. But there became this point in the dinner, and the origin of this is he believes so much in the importance of leadership development. And I think that, he'll speak for himself, but is one of the maybe reasons that BRAC has achieved the extraordinary success that it has. And so I think this mission of ours that brings us all together just really resonated with him. But one of the things I was really grappling with was whether I could personally do this, given that I had at the time 3 small kids. And a lot of people I was meeting were telling me, you can't do this. Like, you just can't do it, given that you're a mom of 3 small kids. There were many reasons they thought they didn't want me to do it, but they were resorting to that as like the ultimate reason. It would be irresponsible to do your children. And I finally said at the end of the dinner, can I ask you one more question? Because you're a grandfather, so you must have encountered these choices before. Like, what do you think? Like, can I do something so global if I have 3 young kids? And without skipping one beat, he said, of course, and went on a whole speech about how this would actually be better for my kids, and of course this would be the right decision. And I've told this story in the past because I think in the world there are so many no's, like so many people who say no, and just the power of a few people who say yes to motivate incredible things. Like, I left that dinner with no further dilemma. Like, I'm gonna do this. So I really.
Thank you. I don't know if we can follow that introduction, but we do have a short video clip to just introduce folks to the incredible leader that Abed is and the work that BRAC has done.
Founder and director of the world's largest, and many say most impactful NGO, a pioneer in social enterprise and microfinance, whose programs have been copied around the world. And he has put women at the center of his development agenda. In 1970, Fazle Hasan Abed was a young oil executive racing up the corporate ladder when his home country, Bangladesh, was hit by the worst cyclone in recorded history. This was followed by a brutal war for independence that left 10 million refugees and 30 million people displaced, particularly women. Today, that NGO, BRAC, has a workforce of 100,000, 70% of whom are women. They provide healthcare and education to 135 million people in 12 developing nations. Their impact has been astounding. In the 1980s, BRAC volunteers taught mothers across rural Bangladesh how to make a simple rehydration solution, reaching 16 million homes and reducing child mortality by more than 70%. Soon after, BRAC's child immunization education program brought the rate of Bangladeshi children who were immunized up from 4% to 70%. BRAC has created 10,000 empowerment clubs for teenage girls, databases to monitor violence against women in rural communities, and schools that have educated over 7 million children. In 2001, BRAC went global, first to Afghanistan, then across Africa, the Caribbean, and elsewhere in Asia.
People are poor because they are powerless. Our job is to empower the poor and create enabling conditions for them to act on their own behalf and defeat poverty.
That is why he is the recipient of the 2014 Trust Woman Hero Award.
Just one of many you know, like Wendy, I can't actually resist but also share how big of a personal honor and thrill it is for me to have Abed here. And Abed is actually an integral part of my story at Teach for Bangladesh as well. When I moved to Bangladesh at the age of 25 with zero managerial experience, zero fundraising experience, really zero any experience. Abed was one of the first people outside family and friends who believed in me and who similarly told me, yes, go do it. Abed, I just want to take the opportunity really to thank you, because had it not been for that push, had it not been for that support, we may not be sitting here today, and I certainly may not have been sitting here today doing the work that all of these folks are doing here today. So thank you.
She says zero managerial competence, zero fundraising capacity, but she had lots of energy and lots of commitment to do something about it. That's all.
So I guess the first question I wanted to ask you, right, you've talked about this incredible mission that you had around empowering the disempowered, the disenfranchised. And I'm just curious how you describe your own purpose in life and work, and how did you go about discovering that?
It's a long question, and I could give a long answer to it. I was educated in England. Initially I studied naval architecture, and then I studied accounting. And I joined Shell Oil Company. And I was interested in literature a lot, so I studied a lot of English poetry, German poetry, French, as well as Spanish poetry, which kept me quite involved. Lived a life of dilettante. So earning quite a lot of money with Shell Oil. And life was not good. Enjoyed literature, enjoyed going to plays, always enjoyed Shakespeare. And so life was good, and I thought of retiring in the Tuscan hills in Italy when the time came. But then I came back to Bangladesh in 1968 with Shell Oil Company. And 1970, there was a cyclone which killed 300,000 people. So my life at that time was disconnected with the people of this country. I was living a life of elite. So that cyclone killing 300,000 people, and I remember going to do relief work from Shell Oil. I got a speedboat to go and do relief work in the offshore islands of Bengal, where there were lots of bodies strewn all over the place. So that sort of shocked me to a kind of level that I could think that I could live a life like that anymore. I had to do something to change the lives of people who are just so fragile that they die in a cyclone like this. So that was the first awakening, that I was disconnected with our people who are not from our country. And the second awakening came after the liberation movement of Bangladesh. So we fought in the War of Independence from Bangladesh, and I became involved in that. So I left Shell and joined the liberation movement. And I also saw a lot of destruction during the liberation, during the war. And then I had a little flat in London. I sold that. So after we became independent, for 9 months later when India came and helped Bangladesh with our independence. So it changed my life. So I thought after liberation, the war before liberation, what happened is that 10 million refugees went from this country to India. And as we became independent, these 10 million people started coming back into their country, back home. So relief and rehabilitation was the main thing that one had to do initially. So I thought I'd give a couple of years of my life to relief and rehabilitation, and then probably get another job somewhere else and then go. But then working with people who have nothing to do relief and rehabilitation. So we built houses for about 10,000 families. We fed children, gave them, and then provided medical care to people. But I realized that relief is not going to change people's lives that much, because they're really poor, and the poverty is so intense that unless one devoted a entire life to poverty alleviation, we won't be able to change much. So that's the time that I decided that I need to really devote my life to change Bangladesh's poverty, to do something about it. I didn't know that I'd be able to change anything much, but I started working on it. So what is the level of poverty in Bangladesh? Poverty, of course, is not unidimensional thing. It's many dimensions of poverty. Lack of food, Bangladesh's lack of providing food to its population. In other words, we only produced 10 million tons of rice. We needed 13 million tons. So 3 million tons had to be imported from outside or got somebody to donate it to us. So obviously we had to increase our agricultural productivity. People were poor because our literacy rate was 25%. 75% of our people were illiterate. So poverty is also because of lack of literacy. So we wanted to do something about that, create. So I started with, initially adult literacy program in the villages that I was working at that time. So adult literacy, infant mortality was very high. Quarter of our children died before their 5th birthday, because they were 5 years old. Maternal mortality was 800 for 100,000 births. And average women used to produce 6.4 children. So I thought that if we go on producing this kind of high rate of fertility, unless we can bring about family planning and change the number of children per woman, then this country is going to remain poor. So we'll be doubling our population every 20 years. How do you get out of poverty without reducing fertility rate? So we started working on family planning, started working on agriculture, we started working on fisheries, livestock development, water, sanitation, hygiene, all kinds of things which affects poor people in their lives. So in the first, 3 or 4 districts, sub-districts that we have taken as our pilot projects to try and develop programs which would ultimately get people out of poverty. So in family planning, I remember 1978, we reached 20% family planning use rate. So family planning user were only 20% of women. And that was the highest in Bangladesh. So the government said that most of the country has got less than 5% family planning use rate. So, but then after that we couldn't improve any further. So there was a plateau, we reached a plateau, and unless something else changed, we can't improve family planning again. So we came to the conclusion that it must be high infant mortality, child mortality. The mortality is high, women tend to produce more children. So in 1979 was the International Year of the Child. So I thought what we could do, what could BRAC do to cut down infant mortality so that women could at least depend on some children surviving and ultimately would cut down their family size. So we decided that diarrhea was the biggest killer of children. Diarrhea killed more than half the children were killed by diarrhea in this country. So we decided to go and teach women. And we knew that oral rehydration, you can rehydrate the body when the diarrhea sort of dehydrates children from very quick, sort of dehydrating the body very quickly out of diarrhea. So we wanted to teach women how to make oral rehydration fluid at home with salt sugar water, which was easily available in the household. So we started a program initially in one district, and then later on we took it up to throughout the country. So 16 million households was reached. So we took it up for a 10-year period. We thought that we need to do this. We need to cut down families' infant mortality in order to get women to do family planning. So our main program was doing that. And I remember in 1985, our immunization of our children was only 2% of our children were immunized. And I was going to see the president of Bangladesh to try to get him to agree to immunize all children. And the president said that, well, we don't have electricity in all the sub-districts, so unless we can get electricity, we can't get the immunization going because we need to keep the cold chain maintained for the vaccines. So we decided that we import a lot of kerosene fridges, even if there's no electricity. And we will try and keep all these vaccines cold chain maintained. So I got the head of UNICEF at that time, JSP Grant, was a friend of mine, and I said, you must come with me and get our president to accept that and do this. So he came in 1985, and both of us went, and he said that, we are having a conference on children at the UN, and countries which attain universal immunization are heads of these countries will be invited to the UN. So our president became very encouraged by that. So he basically agreed that we should do immunization. So he immediately asked the Ministry of Health to get immunization growing because UNICEF was going to provide all the vaccines. So the government asked BRAC to be a partner with them. So we took half the country, and the other half the country was taken by the government to immunize all children. And so it took us 4 years to get, I think in BRAC, half of the the country, we reached 82% immunization rate by the year 1990. And the government reached 62%. So in total, the entire country, we had got around 72% immunization coverage. And then the government said that the areas in which we are not able to reach more than 50%, can you come and help us? So in the 72 sub-districts where they had less than 50% coverage, we went there and we worked for another 2 years to get immunization rate up to 80% throughout the country. So now we have immunization happens. In the old days, we had to persuade mothers to bring their children to immunize, because they never had done that before. And the children had some fever sometimes, so they were reluctant. So now, of course, every mother knows that I have to get my child immunized. So now we don't have to do any of these things. All you have to do is to provide the service. The mothers will bring their children and so on. So initially we had all these problems. So we had to mobilize mothers, persuade them to bring their children. So we had to get 3 doses of DPT, 1 DPT, BCG, polio, and measles at the 9 months. So we had to do all these things. So that was done. And then what happened, what we saw, I used to look at Bangladesh's infant mortality rate, Bangladesh's fertility rate, and so on, and the World Bank used to produce all these statistics. Every time I looked at infant mortality rate, it was going down fast. So by 1990, it went down from 262 deaths per 1,000 childbirths. By 1990, it went down to 91. And then very quickly, from 91, it came down to 68 in the next 2 years. And the next 5 years, it went down to 42. And now it's 36. So from 262 to 36. And then what happened? Then suddenly, women started accepting family planning. And we saw a rise in family planning services. So we had to provide the service, but women were accepting it much more readily. So we started also with a fertility decline. So Bangladesh is the fastest decline in fertility happened in this country. The other next fastest was in Japan. In 1868 to 1892, they had a fertility decline of similar kind that Bangladesh had. And we had the fastest decline in infant mortality as well as the fertility decline. So that is because of the concerted work of government, BRAC, all the other NGOs. Everybody is sort of involved in that. So it's not just us, but we got everybody mobilized to do that. So that happened, and then also our agriculture. We worked on agriculture, teaching farmers how to do line sowing, fertilizer dosage, water, so all kinds of things. And then the government of Bangladesh also decided to irrigate all our lands. The irrigation was privatized, and people invested money in irrigation. And so we had the Green Revolution. It was to produce 10 million tons. Now we produce 38.6 million tons now. And our population, our food production has gone up by 3.8 times, and our population has gone up by 2.2 times. And we have now come to a position, average women produces 2.1 children. So in course of time, we will start going down in terms of population size. So right now we are still growing. So by about 200 million people by Bangladesh by 2050. And then it will start going down to we stabilize at that point, and then before we start going down. So this will be good for Bangladesh. So Bangladesh really didn't have the same kind of problem as Pakistan is having right now. The population is rising very fast. Nigeria is having the same.
In 1971, in 71, when
In 71, Bangladesh has a lot more population than Pakistan.
Exactly.
Pakistan now has 30 million more population than Bangladesh.
Exactly. I'm struck, okay, as you share that, right? I mean, so Bangladesh also used to be a country of famine. Right? To go from being a country of famine to now such overabundance is incredible.
So at least we are not, people are not starving anymore. Per capita income is gone up. Our agricultural productivity has gone up. So all kinds of things that we worked on. I've actually worked on also on trying to get the breed of cows to better than before. So artificial insemination, I've got 5,000 workers who have been trained in artificial insemination. All over the country they are inseminating cows with the higher productivity breeds like Holstein and Friesian and all kinds of things. So all there's no area in either in economics or social change that I have not worked on. All kinds of things I have worked on to change things, to create jobs, for example, for women. What could we do? So all kinds of things. I thought of planting mulberry trees all over the country so that silkworms could be raised. So I decided in 1990 to plant 25 million mulberry trees in roadside birches all over the country. So our staff got 13,000 kilometers of roadside birches they took as lease from local government for 20 years. So we will plant all these roadside birches with mulberry trees. So each tree, about 100 trees will be given to a woman, and she will take all the leaves and then feed to mulberry moors, and then get a job. So I decided that if we could do this 25 million mulberry trees, that some million people will get jobs. So we did that, but that was a failure. What sort of didn't made it a failing program was planted Bangladesh. Mulberry trees can't tolerate waterlogging. So in 1994 we had a big flood and all the trees were waterlogged for about a month, and that sort of killed off most of them. So that sort of was a mistake. It was a mistake in the sense that we had put so much energy. There were 11,000 women looking after all these mulberry trees every day. And I got the World Food Program to give them 90 kilograms of meat per day, per month, to look after all these trees. So anyway, they didn't succeed.
So Abed, if I could come in with one more question, and I'd love to open it up to folks here. I mean, as you're sharing the story, I guess what I'm struck by is that in the public narrative about Bangladesh, both locally and globally, it's often been such a negative narrative, right? Very infamously, Henry Kissinger, when Bangladesh was founded, called us a bottomless basket, said we were never going to survive. So all of these statistics that you've just shared are despite those predictions. And some of these challenges and this negative narrative about Bangladesh has caused a lot of Bangladeshis to either leave Bangladesh or to think about their existence in Bangladesh in a very narrow way. And I'm curious, because you and the culture that you've created at BRAC has been very counter that, right? You've sustained your energy in this work for more than 40 years. We were just talking about how there's staff members at BRAC who've been there their entire lifetime. And And so I'm just curious, how do you orient your leadership in a context where there's so much negativity? How do you see the challenges and maintain energy and sustainability for yourself?
Well, I was, energy people get from work and from success. I could see the changes happening in Bangladesh. It was not that we were just working and nothing was changing. It's why changing. So, as I said, that every time infant mortality tables came in, and we would look at it, and every year I could see that there's a little change in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has come not the 35th, but the 38th this time, or from the bottom. So every time I look at the statistics and I say, all right, there is something that I can see that happening in Bangladesh. So that was important to give you a sense that you are succeeding in bringing about change in your own country. And then I always thought that it was not we who were doing it. Only people in BRAC was so important because not the leader does all the work, it's the entire team that does the work. So I have always got myself to be at the back. I never showed myself in the front in the sense that I was a little more diffident. I didn't want to put myself forward too much. I was talking about BRAC more rather than Abed more. There was nobody talking about Abed. Everybody talked about BRAC. So BRAC was more important. So, and I remember a definition of Gandhi gave to what leadership was. So Gandhi said, there goes my people. I must follow them, for I am their leader. It goes completely against the notion of leaders. What he meant actually is that he was leading the aspiration of the people. The aspiration of the people. He was trying to find out what the aspiration of the people and lead them from behind. What is their forward. So I had a similar kind of thing that I wanted to get BRAC to be doing things, BRAC staff to be doing things. And she was asking me, don't you get burnt out at some point? I said, when your occupation becomes your preoccupation, you are never burnt out. Your preoccupation is your occupation. You're continuously thinking about the same thing that you're doing in work. So how can you burn out? You don't need any holidays either. So that's what my life has been. I've never had a holiday. I didn't want to take off a day to enjoy myself because I enjoyed what I did. And still goes, sort of, I'm still totally preoccupied with what I'm doing in BRAC and thinking about how to change our people's lives here. And now we are also working abroad in other countries in Africa and in Asia. And we would like to change people's lives. Poor people have already lived a difficult life. Give some meaning to some dignity to people's lives is important to us. And now, today, the Women's Day, I think of equality of women is just as important as anything else that we do. So we want to bring about gender equality in this country. I know many other countries have done well, but we have done very badly. There's a lot of patriarchy. We need to do something about that. And that's also preoccupied me a lot, how we bring about change in our societies so that people human beings, men and women, work together and not dominated by one or the other.
On that note, maybe I'll open up to the floor. I'm sure there are those questions. So, I think there's a mic coming.
Hi, Saiful. On that question on the topic of
Can you
women.
introduce yourselves?
What topic of?
Sorry. So my name is Abed from Teach for Malaysia. And just touching on the topic of women and for International Women's Day, I'd like to hear what inspires you about women leadership.
Leadership.
Women leadership. How do you draw inspiration from their leadership?
Well, I decided very early on in BRAC's work that I would like to empower women in order to change Bangladesh. So I focused on women's empowerment as an agents of change. I chose women. So all the microfinance clients of BRAC were women. When we started education, I wanted girls to be educated. So every school that I started, we said 70% of these children must be girls. So that's what we got. Because the village in which they would give 70% girls, I did not even start a school there. So that's what I did. So over this 40-year period, we educated nearly 7 million children in primary schools. And 65%, 66% are girls, educated girls. And now that you see, many people don't realize that we have empowered women in the villages over many years through microfinance and so on, providing them financial services so that they could take responsibility for not only just looking after managing poverty, but managing resources also. So we have done that. So these empowered women, once they got their girls educated, they started sending them to cities to work. So Bangladesh has got a huge garment industry. It grew because there were so many primary educated women started coming into the cities, and the garment industry got ready-made, women coming into the villages to work in factories. So it's the second largest garment industry in the world after China, is Bangladesh. And most people don't realize that the garment industry has been functioning and doing well, but behind that, there has been a lot of work that we have done earlier on in history, in the 80s, 70s, empowering women through microfinance in their homes, and then getting them to send their children girl children to school. That has happened. And then in the 90s and later on, these girls started coming into the town to work. So that's how our garment industry grew to become one of the world's largest garment industry. So we have put in a lot of effort in empowering women.
I guess what I'm asking is also what values that you see differently in the leadership of women.
What values?
What values do you see that women bring that's different, that inspires you to do that work?
Women bring a lot of values, different kinds of things. Women bring a lot of sense of responsibility for the family. I've seen, for example, a girl, 5-year-old girl, looking after her younger siblings. But her elder brother, 6-year-old, working in the field. He's not looking after the younger siblings in rural Bangladesh. It's the girls who has been managing younger siblings to getting fuel for collecting fuel for the family, for cooking, looking after the household animals, goats and cows. It's the girls who have been doing it earlier on from childhood. The boys who are less given the task of household, management. Girls are looking up from younger siblings to afterwards also. In poor households, I found that poverty is managed by women, not by men. If the husband doesn't work that day, he goes to a tea stall and spends his time. But it's the woman who's going to go to get for the children. So she's the one who is going to beg or steal whatever she needs to do in order to put food on the table. So that's what sort of motivated me, that if women are managing poverty, then why shouldn't they manage development too? So that's why we put all our energy into empowering women.
Hi, I'm Mr. from Congress. My question was, I think in your work, because you've had to work with so many different stakeholders, so many different groups, I'm sure that, and also because of the expanse of your work, there's always, I'm sure you have to face criticism from different parties and different backlashes and all that. But then how do you maintain your energy? Sometimes I'm sure people might say something insulting. How as a leader you actually control your ego and still manage to go forth with your work?
Yeah, we had at one point, our schools were doing so well, and that children were asked to dance and sing and things like that. And some mullahs, Islamic fundamentalist mullahs, said that singing and dancing is not approved by the religion. So it must be bringing in Christian culture into this country. So they started running our school. So a couple of hundred schools were burned down. But then we survived, and the parents built these schools again. So we have had a lot of people against us throughout BRAC's history. Mullahs at one time, the government officials at another time. The mulberry trees that we planted, some of them were cut down by people because the silk is not apparently kosher for religious purposes and things like that. So all kinds of people against us, worked against us, and so on. And for most of the time, they thought that BRAC is a Christian organization coming from abroad. Not even a Bangladeshi organization, they didn't know that BRAC was Bangladeshi. So they thought that must be now from our side, that care for BRAC, or outside of this. So we had a lot of problems. So I think in the last 20 years we are known as the Bangladeshi organization, and my face is somehow now recognized. Because I was keeping myself so much distant from people that nobody knew who was running this organization. So we had a lot of problems we faced, and we are patient. We thought these storms would subside, and ultimately it will be okay. We are doing the right things. We were confident that we were doing the right things. That sort of gave us the...
I just continually marvel at what he has done, and I think it's coming through in his talk, or maybe you're exposed to BRAC in other ways, but the impact on this country and on so many other countries just in just millions and millions of people's lives is just dramatic. And he runs the largest NGO in the world, and it's absolutely massive, and I don't get it. How? If you had to say sort of, how did this happen? What were the keys to the incredible growth? I'd love for you to give the statistics too, because I've heard them before, but it's just absolutely huge what you've built. And I'm just curious, what do you feel is kind of the biggest keys to that?
Well, I thought the scale and impact, scale is so important. When you have millions of people involved, when you have millions of people illiterate, how can you be satisfied with just giving 10,000 children education? So to me, it was logical that in order to have an impact, you need to have millions of children educated, not just thousands of children. So one has to be, in development, I have always found that, I was quite ambitious. I was not satisfied with giving 10,000 people, 10,000 children education. I wanted millions of children to be educated. So not only I worked on education, but I gave 7 million children primary education in this country. But then I wanted government to give more. So I worked with the government too. So it's not just me, I would encourage other people to do the same thing. So I'm encouraging you to try and improve quality of education in this country. Not this country, but everywhere else. Children are not getting the kind of education they ought to be getting. So I'm all for large number and impact in a country. So ambition is very important for development workers. We can't remain small and beautiful. We might become big and impactful. That's what we want to be. So when she said, should she go abroad, I said, of course she must.
Smile.
Hi, I'm Nadia from Teach for Bangladesh, and I have a bit more of a personal point. How do you keep yourself aligned with your vision? What do you do on a daily basis? How do you start and end your day and check in with yourself and do what you're trying to do without letting anything get in your way personally?
Yeah, so I guess, Tanya, the question seems to me like, do you have personal rituals or practices that sustain you? Like, how do you spend your morning? How do you spend your evening?
See,
Are there any rituals that you do?
Okay. Now, no, I'm initially, of course, when in the first 25 years of BRAC was very crucial time. We were growing in size as well as complexity and programs. So I don't know. So at that time, of course, I worked very hard from early morning to late night. There was no weekends, nothing. So that is building time. So I didn't know much about development myself. I didn't have the education, developmental education. I became an accountant. So I needed to learn. So I read a lot of books, read a lot. I went to villages to learn from the poor people, their lives was like. I started on the third year after BRAC started, I started a research department in BRAC because I wanted to learn how we are doing research and evaluation. So not just doing the work we don't do, we need to find out what has changed, what impact we have had, what results we have had from this work. So BRAC is probably one of the major NGOs which has got a fairly large research department. We have got 200 people in our research and evaluation department. And we need to find, every time we do something, we try to find out how we have done it, whether we have succeeded in attaining the goal or everything that we wanted to attain. So as I always say that, first of all, we start in a small area, in a pilot project, then we try to make it effective, before we try to make it efficient. So effectiveness is important. Whatever you do, to try to be effective. Then once you are effective, then in order to become efficient, you need to routinize those tasks which are needed, and you want to discard those which are not essential. So once you have done that, discard those things which are not essential, but then that is the time that you can then expand. throughout that.
Okay, if I may interrupt briefly. So I think a curiosity is on a personal level,
Yeah.
like your day-to-day
Right.
experience. You know, are there things that you do to keep yourself grounded? Like one thing I observe about you, if I may, right? I think that a lot of people who enter development work or social work seem to be driven by kind of either like a anger or a frustration with something the way that it is and wanting to change or fix it. But that's not what I encounter when I talk to you, and I think you guys can sense it, right? There's a real tranquility that I sense when I speak to you.
No.
And I'm curious how you stay centered in that tranquility and get energy to do these incredible things that you're doing.
I don't know. I think it's more to my personality is very. I don't get flustered very easily, so I can remain calm, and I can think of things to do now and things to do in the future, and get things done like that. So I'm very disciplined in that kind of way, thinking about programs in a disciplined manner. That first we need to do this, and second we need to do this. Prioritization of stages of programming. I'm totally agree with that.
And do you think that calmness or that tranquility, how has that served your leadership? How has that benefited you and the people around you in BRAC and the culture you've created?
So I think another thing that I have tried to follow is that very open door policy. I'm the chairman of the board of BRAC now, but even the lowest person working in the field can always drop into me without making an appointment. So I'm very available to me. That's important for my organization to feel that he's available. And he can always people seek advice from my organization. They can always come and see me. So that's not it. That's one thing we sort of, they know that they'll get a good advice if they come to me. So these are important things. So I've kept myself open to my staff. The lowest person can also come. And I have non-hierarchical. I have promoted a non-hierarchical organization. Not too much hierarchy. And that's important for giving people a feeling that I belong to this organization. So most staff of BRAC don't think that they're just a person hired by BRAC. They think they are BRAC. I'm BRAC kind of thing. So I'm doing it for my own kind of thing. Not that I'm working for BRAC, another organization who is led by somebody else. Right? I'm the leader. So I'm trying to get as many leaders as possible within BRAC who think that, like me, that I'm trying to advance the purposes of BRAC for which BRAC exists.
I mean, I think that's just such a tremendous thing that I've noticed in the culture at BRAC. I think sometimes in Teach for All or Teach for Bangladesh or Teach for America, sometimes we describe ourselves as having a cult-like culture. And I think that there's, in a positive way as well.
I think you have it, Teach for All. All of you are Teach for All. I mean, you are trying to promote better education for our children. So I think Wendy has certainly got all the Teach for All people that I meet, that they think that, this is my organization, we want to do this. So I don't think you feel that you are working for an organization that you are only working for salary, but you are working for a particular cause. It's very important.
I think we have time for maybe one last question. Maybe let's just, to my end, you can both go and then I can answer.
Thank you so much. How does
scope changed in Bangladesh for youth to sustainably drive and embody leadership in society, right? Especially when we exist within structures and systems that are very reliant on the generations who came before us to function.
You started BRAC with purpose, and how did you sustain that leadership that you had? Like, of course, everyone thinks BRAC is their organization, but how did that leadership sustain throughout like different generations and stages?
How to sustain?
The leadership, yeah, of BRAC.
Yeah, I think her question was about, you know, I've heard you talk a lot about the need for leadership in youth and young people. I think Smaya's question is how do you see the nature of that need?
Needs youth leadership.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think leadership is a very important development that you want to do. I mean, the more leaders you can develop, the better the world will be in terms of getting things done. So youth leadership is very important, and I'm trying to promote that now. Also in Bangladesh, there are youth leaders coming up, and we are trying to help them to get a whole generation of young people leading this country. Because it's very important. It's not just old people who should be going to politics and lead the country, but not young leaders who are coming in and trying to give motivation of people. I think that I have always felt that BRAC, I have never had any problem in getting people to become part of BRAC very easily. And I think the main reason is that we have treated everybody as much as, so there's no, so everybody who came in to achieve a certain goal within the organization. And that the goal was transmitted to them very, very quickly. So in NGOs, it's easier to do that. I don't know whether it's easier to do that. I mean, an NGO is a shared vision. Unless you share a vision, you are not going to attain the same kind of goal. So, unless you all share the feeling that we need to improve education in our societies, you will not be part of this organization. So it's very important to have a shared vision. So transmit a vision to people. So as soon as somebody comes into BRAC, we try to transmit our vision as fast as possible, so that that person becomes part of BRAC. Very important. Thank you.
Yeah, so on that note, I guess I'll just end by saying, okay, like I know you've traveled 2 hours to get here and then back, and I know you're incredibly busy, and so I'm just so grateful and so honored that you've made this time to be with us. Thank you.